Welcome to On the Vineyard, a weekly podcast from the Vineyard Gazette Media Group on Martha's Vineyard. I'm publisher Monica Brady-Meyerov. We're so glad you're here. On the Vineyard is sponsored by Crane Appliance. The traffic on the roads has let up this week, but I've noticed so many more fishing boats moored in harbors. And that's because the Martha's Vineyard Striped Bass and Bluefish Derby gets underway on Sunday.
Everyone is super ready to get back out on the water and on the shores, and we're excited to see the island's bounty this year.
More on the Derby in a moment. Tribal drumming kicked off the 19th annual powwow held by the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquinnah at the Aquinnah Circle last weekend. The MC of the powwow welcomed everyone who attended over the 2 days, saying the powwow allows others to see the tribe as they see themselves and ask questions and hear stories. When invited, many in the audience joined tribal members in a friendship dance, holding hands and dancing in a circle. This week we celebrated a very important birthday here at the Gazette. Our Goss Community Web Press turned 50. We held a special event for the community, and almost 100 people turned up at our office in Edgartown to hear about the intricacies and oddities of operating the press every week. They heard from our press operators, Music Moreau and Jim Pfeiffer. Jim explained how the offset works using printed aluminum plates, water, and ink.
The blanket is really key to the quality of offset printing, because the blanket, being a rubber surface, it has some
Then
give.
the group went into the press room to watch a press run. You're probably familiar with the sound of the press running since I play it every week. But this week we printed a special 50th edition for the event. It included a reprint of the front page of the Vineyard Gazette from May 14, 1846, the first run in the history of the paper. I want to share with you part of one of the front page articles. The heading, Miscellaneous Married Life. Quote, "Marriage is desirable and recommendable in every point of view. In a national point of view, it is indispensable." Hey, this was 1846. Recognize that sound? It's the Goss Press again, and that means it's time to go upstairs and hear from Bill Evell, the editor-in-chief, and the reporters on this week's news.
Hello, everyone. What is really on everybody's mind this week is the Derby. The 80th Martha's Vineyard Striped Bass and Bluefish Derby starts at 12:01 Sunday morning, with the first weigh-in at 8 a.m. on Sunday. And among many of the experienced anglers and some of the first-timers, the Gazette will have a first-time angler, reporter Gwen Skiles, who is on the story and will be on the beat this month, in addition to casting her line in the water. Gwen, welcome.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for having me. Yes, I am participating this year. I'm from Illinois, so I don't have much experience with saltwater, but I figured I'd still try my best, just as many first-timers do. And a first-timer won last year, so who knows?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. Carmelo Torres was a first-timer last year and won, so you could be following in his footsteps. And the winning prize, again, is a boat. That's down the road a ways. That'll be at Farm Neck at the end of the Derby. Now, this entire program will not be about Gwen, but her journey started at the Surfcaster sale a couple weeks ago, where you picked up a rod.
Yep, I picked up a rod at Coop's, actually, and, he brought me to his parking lot and showed me how to cast. I was pretty bad at first, but, I'm getting there. Saturday, I got to go witness the Derby committee set up headquarters, and the energy was just so exciting. Everyone is super ready to get back out on the water and on the shores, and we're excited to see the island's bounty this year.
Yeah, and I love that you're jumping right into. We have some experienced fishermen, particularly Ray Ewing, on staff, but for a first-timer, it really is what the Derby is about. It's this community that is welcoming, and everybody you talk to, they all say that. Yeah, there's awards, there's fun stuff to do every day, but it's about the people you fish with and who you meet, sometimes deep in the dark of the night as you're fishing, but it's just an incredible 5-week journey for the island.
Yeah, I mean, the Derby just really nurtures island culture, and it's also rooted in community in that it gives money to high schoolers. Over $110,000 were donated to scholarships for graduating high school seniors last year. And, whenever you talk to someone that participates in the Derby, their face just lights up talking about the community. So that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and the fillet program is really important, that they donate a lot of fish to seniors and homeless organizations so people with not enough food to eat can get some fresh fish all for the next 5 weeks. It's pretty incredible. Also, in your story, Gwen, you talked about the museum is doing an interesting program to honor the 80th anniversary.
Yeah, so for the first time, the museum is doing a series. It's called Legends of the Line, and they'll be having 4 talks from some veteran anglers that have participated, some since the very first Derby in 1946. So that will be really special. And the final one will honor Janet Messenio, who passed away last year. But she, is just super inspiring to the island and got many people to pick up their first rod. So it'll be great to honor her.
Yeah, and if you haven't read Janet's memoir, it's really beautiful. You should check it out. Gwen, good luck.
Thank you.
Turning now to Ethan Genter, who has a story about a developer who has filed a complaint that would essentially take the Martha's Vineyard Commission out of the equation in approving his Green Villa development plan to build 100 units on the Edgartown Vineyard Haven Road. Ethan, let's break this down.
Yeah, so Atwood Company, which is owned by William Cumming, he filed this lawsuit last week, and what he is claiming is that the Martha's Vineyard Commission, which has, for decades been involved in oversight of affordable housing projects, shouldn't be involved in the review, and it should all fall to Zoning Board of Appeals, only local boards.
And this has a long way to go, and we don't know what will happen of it, but if something like this went through, it would really basically upend our whole system of approvals here on the island with developments of this size.
Yeah, what has historically happened is when people apply for large housing developments, large kind of anything, those go to the local zoning boards that are then referred to the Martha's Vineyard Commission, which is a much bigger body, has more staff and experts, and this is basically all they do is look at these sort of developments. It's kind of been the bedrock as you go through the Martha's Vineyard Commission, and the Commission also has a much wider purview. They can consider all kinds of things, kind of the character of the community, if it's culturally and historically relevant. And those are things that a lot of the zoning boards kind of have to really stick to zoning a lot of the times. They don't have that ability. And then it does eventually, after the Vineyard Commission handles it, it goes back to the zoning board. But like you said, this would totally change how these developments have worked in the past. And his argument is not just this development in particular shouldn't go to the Martha's Vineyard Commission. It's any of the affordable housing, kind of colloquially known as 40B projects.
Yeah, that's the crux of it, that this is a different kind of thing. But in this case, the zoning board of Oak Bluffs, they want it to go to the MVC, right? They're not sort of asking this runaround.
I think a lot of the towns like to have the Martha's Vineyard Commission's help in these. And this is all done, the 40B statute is to help affordable housing developments get done. Historically, a lot of these have been zoned out or not allowed. Basically, all the rules are tic-tac, so these kind of developments can't happen, despite the desperate need for housing in Massachusetts and on the vineyard. And so this was kind of carved out this way to give you a streamlined, condensed thing. Basically, there's only one permit you need to apply to for this, and it goes through the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're different, where you also have to go to the Martha's Vineyard Commission, where I think the only place in the state where it works like that. But he's claiming that we shouldn't have an exception in that rule, and we should go through the way everyone else does.
So in the rest of the state, it does work through these local boards, but we have this overarching body. So a fascinating story with a lot of different avenues potentially happening, but still a long way to go, correct?
Yeah, just filed. These suits usually take a long time. William Cumming, the man who's behind Atwood, has filed. There's also several other lawsuits involving this project and other developments he's doing. So these are likely going to be tied up in the courts for a while.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You can read more about these stories and all the news for free at vineyardgazette.com. And are you signed up for our biweekly newsletter, The Broadsheet? It's easy and free on our website. And now some sad news for lovers of Chef Deon's jerk chicken and ribs, not to mention his mac and cheese, especially his lobster mac and cheese. After running his restaurant out of the VFW in Oak Bluffs for 14 years, he's closing down so he can focus on writing his story, a memoir titled The Spirit and the Stove. His last meal will be served September 21st. Last month, I took a walking tour of part of the African American History Trail in the Highlands area of Oak Bluffs. Our guide, Larry Jones, was fantastic, and the history he brought to life was fascinating. I'll be sharing parts of it in this podcast over the course of several episodes. Today, Dorothy West's house. She was part of the Harlem Renaissance along with Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, and others who wrote and found inspiration in Oak Bluffs.
She's working mainly background, though, but she's also writing. That's Dorothy West, all right?
We're standing in front of an unassuming cottage with a small front porch where West frequently sat at her typewriter and wrote. She inherited the house when her father died and moved to the island.
1948, she writes her first novel, The Living is Easy, all right? Doesn't get a lot of boots out the door, as they say, all right? No boots on the ground, as the song says. But critically acclaimed. But she starts working here, where? Vineyard Gazette. Mainly administrative work, though, all right? So, you know, and a lot of odd jobs during that time frame, all right? But then she gets a break to start writing a column in the 1960s.
West was a founding member of the Cottagers and wrote a column for the Gazette called Cottagers' Corner from 1956 until 1969. She also wrote the Oak Bluffs Town column for the Gazette from 1973 until 1993. That's now written by Richard Taylor. Our theme music is from island composer and musician Michael Hayden. If you like the show, please follow us so you won't miss an episode, and tell a friend who loves the Vineyard. Thanks to our sponsor, Crane Appliance. Even the best appliances need to be repaired from time to time. When you purchase from Crane Appliance, you get their full support and expertise should something go wrong. Crane Appliance, they call the Cape and Islands home. I'm Monica Brady-Meyerov. Thanks for joining us on The Vineyard. Talk to you next week.